We'll start with the Premier League. We'll go agree or disagree with a number of statements I will give you guys, and we'll break those down. Obviously, the Champions League draw here coming up tomorrow. We will look forward to kind of the shift in format and how that might benefit some teams or hinder others. And last but not least, of course, the transfer window. It's not closing. It is slamming shut here in just a matter of days. So we will look at what some reported transfers and transfers have gone through and how that may affect things. Let's start with the Premier League. First and foremost, with the Liverpool legend, I'm letting you lead the way here, Stevie. Here's your statement. Liverpool can challenge Man City and Arsenal for the title. Sir?
Yes, I think so. I think before the season started, anybody connected with Liverpool, we weren't quite sure what we were going to get. We weren't quite sure how the team was going to be set up. And I think I know it's only 2 games, but I think you can clearly see that there's still a smoothness about Liverpool, even though there's a new manager. I think, quite frankly, it's really simple for me. It comes down to injuries. If Liverpool have the same sort of injury crisis this year as they did last year, then absolutely they won't be able to compete for the title. But if they have just a kind of normal run of the mill season as far as injuries are concerned, obviously a couple of players will miss some minutes, but just like your ordinary season, then I'm pretty confident already that, yes, they can compete with Manchester City and Arsenal because, quite frankly, I think it is a 3-horse race.
LMA?
Yeah, it always begins so well with me and Stevie. I'm going to agree with him here. I agree as well. I like what I've seen. And actually, I'm really impressed in these first 2 games, just how quickly Liverpool squad has adapted to Arne Slot. And I agree with everything Stevie's saying. I think there are 3 components here. One, I think they need to make the most out of their easy beginning to the schedule because it is the easiest out of all the major teams in the Premier League. I think by the time October comes around, it'll get trickier, but hopefully the squad will understand more of Slot's system. 2, like Stevie said, they need to stay healthy because that is key, and that's been a problem in the past. I mean, it's all good to have the likes of Diogo Jota and Lucho Diaz and Mohamed Salah, but, they need to stay healthy. That's really important when you're trying to fight off the likes of Manchester City and Arsenal. And 3, I think they need a defensive midfielder. I don't know if Arne Slot agrees with me, but I think that somebody that can be solidified in that middle. I know that, Wataru Endo obviously can provide something towards the latter stages of a game. But I think that if those 3 things continue to happen, Federico Chiesa, I know we'll talk about him in a minute. He's a great addition for that amount of money. They're definitely ready for it. I'm a big fan of what Arne Slot has done so quickly. If they can stay fit and healthy, yes, agree. They can definitely fight off Manchester City or Arsenal.
Can I just jump on the back of that? What LME was saying there. I think the fact that they tried to sign Zubimendi tells you that Arne Slot and the directors of football all believe the same thing as I do. Agree with LME as well. So yeah, I think there's no question they are looking for somebody. Zubimendi would have been perfect. However, he decided personally it wasn't perfect for him, but I think that kind of answers the questions for all of us. That absolutely is a spot they're looking to fill.
Yeah, we'll go 3 for 3. To say they can't challenge, I think, it's to challenge for the title means every game that these teams play up until the last 6 weeks, in my mind, they're going to be in the mix. And I see Liverpool being there in the mix and to the very end, put at least the last 6 weeks. So the challenge for the title, I think, without a doubt. All right. Stevie, I'm going to start here with you, too, because on the ESPN FC side, I know Dan was trying to build up Chelsea coming off those 4 goals in the second 45. And you rained on the parade. I was there with you, man. It was 45 minutes. It looked great for 45. But here's your statement. Agree or disagree? There is method to Chelsea's madness.
Well, if there is, I wish somebody would let me know what it is. I mean, seriously.
So disagree.
I mean, there's even talk of signing more forwards. Well, I should say wide forwards. There's certainly no talk of a centre forward, which they desperately need. No, I am not convinced. Listen, had this game been against Arsenal, Man City, Liverpool, Villa, I mean, had it been against one of the top sides, then that's a different ballgame. But the fact was, it's against Wolves, who were, in the second half in particular, so wide open that it was absolutely scary. I mean, the amount of times that Chelsea scored their goals, having outnumbered the amount of defenders, was just un-Premier League like. So, was it great to watch? Yes, it was. Was it fun? They all looked as though they were having fun. But in the terms of where Chelsea are in their development, right now, I think you got to say it was a bit of a flash in the pan.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in here, Dalen, and I'm agreeing with Stevie, disagreeing with the comment here. If there is a method here, I still need to know what it is. I mean, at this point, I think that Chelsea need to buy the town of Cobham, not just the training center inside of Cobham, because it's just an overwhelming number of players. And yes, it was a really good victory, and we gave them props here on ESPN FC YouTube, along with Janusz Michalek right after the game. They played very well, but Wolves definitely are a project in the making. And offensively, you're going to see these types of projects. But here's my issue, okay? Chelsea have more players on 6 or 7 year contracts than the rest of Europe combined. Fees from those amortization fees, like deals, are going to pack up at some point, and it's going to be an issue. It's unclear to me how Chelsea are going to deal with UEFA's economical regularities, which is basically 90 million over a 3-year period. Then there's the Premier League sustainability rules as well, which is 105 million over the loss of 3 years. Eventually, all that is just going to mount up. And then you have the chemistry thing, okay? Which is, already we're seeing Raheem Sterling upset and other players as well. As Stevie said, they're still looking for more players. Like, there's an issue here of cohesion. And all is well and good at the very beginning, right? But what happens when you face, just like Stevie said, the likes of Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool, Villa, Tottenham, et cetera, et cetera? These are going to be teams that are going to be testing you. It's too much of a big squad. And you have a new manager in Enzo Maresca. So, a great result this past weekend. Is it going to continue to happen? No. Are more issues going to happen? Yes.
Yeah, I don't disagree with anything you guys said. You're dead right. Somebody sent me an article, an American guy that's not even a football fan, sends me this article. It says, it's a Wall Street Journal article. You can read the headline in the text. These American owners are either geniuses or fools. I didn't need to click. I just wrote back to him, this is about Chelsea, right? He said, yeah, that's enough said. Like this, and I think it's going to be the latter, that this is not going to pan out long term. But time will tell. And of course, it's drawing attention beyond the football world from a financial standpoint. People wondering, how does this work in terms of global sport? Next statement, and LME, we'll start with you. Manchester United aren't as bad as people think. Agree or disagree?
I agree, but it depends on our definition of what bad means. Like, obviously, I think that, can they get a European spot? Can they get Europa League, Conference League? Yes. Are they a top 4 team in the Premier League? No. And that's something that we have to remember. Now, it's early in the season, and we have to remember that they have major injuries, right? Lenny Yora's injury was major. Rasmus Højlund, of course, in the preseason. Luke Shaw, Tyrell Malacia. Now Mason Mount, apparently, is suffering from a niggle after that loss against Brighton. So there are issues contending. So I think a fully fit Manchester United does help Erik ten Hag. I mean, look at all these departures as well, the changes. Scott McTominay going to Napoli. I've already talked about Manuel Ugarte, by the way, who I love him so much. And I think it's a massive, massive acquisition. Matthias de Ligt and Xerxes, Mazraoui, they're always going to help. So there's still a little bit of a project in the making. But this is Manchester United. And Manchester United fans want Champions League. They want to even win the title. That's not happening anytime soon. So are they as bad as people say? Well, your definition of bad is the most important thing here. So can they get Europe? Yes, but Champions League top 4 spot right now, there are 4 better teams than them right now.
I think the bad part, just to qualify, that's your point, is for Manchester United to not, as we talked about earlier with Liverpool, challenge for the title. For them not even to be in the consideration set to challenge and to hope for a top 4, that to me is bad. Stevie, do you agree or disagree based on that qualification?
I would agree that if Manchester United get in the top 4, it's been a successful season. Now, that's not something we were used to thinking about with Manchester United. A successful season is either winning the Premier League or being second and having a great run in the Champions League and maybe getting to the final. Those standards are way, way, way short right now of where Manchester United, as a club, as certainly the history of it, and when you think about the amount of money they've spent. So, yeah. I mean, if they get in the top 4 spot, as I said, that would be a great season. They're not good enough. And again, it depends on where your level lies. But I must admit, Ugarte to me is possibly going to be the best signing they've made in a long, long time, because this team cannot stop anybody, regardless of whether it's a top 4 team or a relegation threatened team. They can't stop anybody getting through the middle of the park. Kobe Mainoo and Casemiro, particularly Mainoo on the ball, is fantastic, but he can't defend. I don't remember the last time we broke anything up or made a challenge or stopped anything from getting past him. And Casemiro, unfortunately, as great as he's been, he doesn't have the legs to get around anymore. So Ugarte, I think, will make a big difference, but I don't see any change in the way they attack. I mean, the amount of opportunities they had against Brighton at the weekend, and they basically no chemistry and didn't look as though there was any real fluency about it. It was always going to be down to somebody doing something on their own. And then, of course, that disappeared when they took Bruno Fernandes off. So, yeah, Man United are not in great shape, but Ugarte, in my opinion, will make them better than they are right now.
Okay, let's get to the team that beat them the other day. Brighton, now for those of us that had Brighton on the money line and then had them in a parlay, phenomenal 95th minute goal, guys. I celebrated at 9 a.m. I think I scared the crap out of my daughter. She was not ready for the yell that was going to happen there. Let's get to the statement, though, around Brighton. And I'll qualify this one. When it says Brighton are the dark horses this season. And let's put a little meat on that. Dark horses to get into the top 4, I would add to it, as 8th favorites by the bookies. Stevie, I'll start with you. Brighton are the dark horses to get into the top 4. Agree or disagree?
Well, they've got a chance. Unfortunately, it's no chance. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. No. I mean, I've just complained about Manchester United. If Brighton plays against good teams and gives the amount of space and opportunity to go forward as they gave Manchester United, then they've got no chance. And the fact is that, the 2 centre-backs for me don't have any pace. Anybody with any sort of pace and any sort of brains, because they hold a huge, stupid high line like a lot of teams do. And if you're going to hold a high line, you need pace. And neither Dunk nor Hecken have any pace. So it's, in my opinion, it can only go wrong. So, listen, they might have on paper, and if you look at the table, they've made a fantastic start, but they are nowhere near top 4 contenders, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with Stevie. I disagree with the comment. I mean, I think that, first of all, to call Brighton a dark horse is an evergreen post every single season, regardless of top 4 of Europe. This is one of the best clubs run anywhere, right? In 2022, 2023, they made a £122.8 million profit, which is why this summer they were able to spend around 200 million. They're such a well-run club, right? If they lose a player, they replace him with another one. And that's not limited to players, managers, of course, Graham Potter, Roberto De Servi, and now the wonderful Fabian Hertzler. But they're not a top 4 team right now, simply because they're like Stevie said, if you got issues at the back, but my issues are also just in the deepening of the squad. If you want to be a top 4 team or a top 4 club, it's about having a deep squad. And that's not Brighton right now. They're a very well-run, managed club. I love everything that they do, but they're still a project. They're always a project every season because that's how they make money and that's how they create talent. But you just can't compete right now with the big boys that are making the Champions League spots. That's not taking anything away from Brighton. I think a fairer argument is, can they make Conference or Europa League? Yes, they can. Absolutely. Can they have a good run in a domestic cup competition? Yes, they can. Do they have a great team? Talented? Yes, they do, but it's not a top 4 one. So I agree with Stevie. They're not a Champions League top 4 kind of team right now, but I like what they do. And that's not really their model. Their model is to be successful economically and to make sure that they attract the interest of the local fan base and that they can hopefully get Europe. That's it. They're not trying to do what, City are trying to do or Arsenal are trying to do right now, but they're a well-run club, and I wish them nothing but the best. And by the way, because they don't have Europe this season, their schedule is is pretty good for them to try and get that 6th, even 5th kind of spot. So for that, I think it's more realistic. Top 4, no.
Okay, let's get to our final statement here. We're going to talk Everton. Obviously, 2 years ago, they were in a relegation battle to the very end. Last year, with the points deduction, they stabilized and maintained their spot in the Premier League. The first 2 games have not been good at all. LME, I'll start with you. Are Everton in trouble? And I think when we sense trouble, it's the sense of could they be going down?
Yes, they are in trouble. They're missing players. Yeah, Branthwaite, Coleman, Patterson. Yeah, I get it. But let me just give you some more stats here. Okay, even with them back, I just don't see the goals where they're coming from. They've already conceded 7. They haven't had a single, or at least Dominic Calvert-Lewin has not had a single shot on target. That's not necessarily his fault. It's just the offensive creativity is there. Sean Dyche is usually really good about being disciplined at the back. That hasn't happened. And then when you look at the promoted teams, right, there is an argument to be made that one of them could avoid relegation, at least one of them. And Everton could be the one that comes back at the end. So, yes, I understand they're not fully healthy, but from what I'm seeing right now, specifically because of the inconsistencies outside of the pitch, Everton are in trouble. I know it's early in the season, but right now, they're not really showing me anything to say, oh, yeah, I think you're going to make it. And by the way, Dominic Calvert-Lewin is reportedly maybe an interest to other clubs. And if that happens, my God, like they really got a quick think on their feet. I know it's early, but I could see a much better run or coach club that just came up, avoid relegation, and then going down.
Stevie?
Well, I'm not a betting man, but I would put a bet on that they don't get relegated. Mm-hmm. And it's nothing to do with them. Well, that's not true. It's not nothing to do with them. But the fact is that Leicester, Ipswich and Southampton, in my opinion, have shown so far, I know it's early, that they are good championship teams. That's what they are. I mean, again, I'll go back to Leicester. Leicester's 2 centre-backs are the same 2 centre-backs that were the cause of Leicester going down from the Premier League the last time. And that hasn't changed. So I don't see it. Ipswich, they just look out of their depth. And Southampton are just a team that tries hard and runs around, but I don't see any quality anywhere. And you look at Everton, I mean, again, how many years in a row are they going to be doing the same thing? Wait at the bottom forever and a day, and then eventually they get out it. Because they've got experience of getting out it. And I agree with LME that where's the next goal coming from? But these are things that we've said about Everton for the last 3 or 4 years at least. But somehow they manage it, and Sean Dyche we trust, because I actually do. I think they'll grind out points, particularly at home, and have enough. Probably only because the other 3, in my opinion, really are championship sides. I do not see them as Premier League teams at all.